Back on a Monday after a powerful protest weekend that was amazing. And it is just showing the critical mass numbers that we are exceeding to capitulate this whole thing into a new direction. And I'm going to be doing a psychic notes video here in the next couple of days. It's going to shed some light on momentum and cracking points and what I energetically see going on and the psychic readings that I see going on. I will be doing that. But today, we need to get our baseline back again, people. We need to get our energy baseline back again because we got freaking rocked over the weekend. So there's some particulars that I want to show you in the forecasting just to kind of catch you up to speed, and a little bit of prediction for next week, just so you can kind of see what the lay of the landscape is. And just out of the gate, what I'm going to say is we are not moving fast this week into anything. So, there's no need to turn the rocket ship on at this point. That might actually create some problems for you. And now it is time to flip the camera around and let's take a look at this juicy succulence of energy for this week. Here we go. We are here on Monday. I am recording this on a Monday, and what I like to do is I like to pan back into the previous week that we just did. Look at what we just did. And I did add in, we had a bit of a Schumann's here. Then we had explosive Schumann's over the weekend as we had peak astrological energy right here. And the sun was doing like G1, G2, M8.3 solar, blowing and moving around Earth's electromagnetic field. So there was a lot going on here. And if you notice, we started landing timeline jumps, which means we're shifting and moving things, right? So here we are on a Monday. And if you are feeling very much like you are in recovery, kind of like energy hangover, event hangover, that is totally in line. So here's the week that we're going to be doing right here. And here is our upcoming week. Now, I want you to notice overall, we do another energy peak here on the 21st. I'm kind of tracking, we come down off the ride just a little bit, and then we're going to have another big energy peak right here, and it comes down. And then look at this, guys. We're in timeline jumping season. This is the first time in a while we've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day run. I'm actually going to count it as 4.5 because this is about at a 50% level, right at about the new moon. So even as the astrology comes off, the astrology might not be quite as powerful at the end of next week. Evidently, timeline jumping here, this signifies to me that we are doing things. Things are going to be happening. We're creating new options for ourselves, new scripting, new highlights. So we have that to look forward to. So let's zero in on this week. What have we got going on this week? We still have a lot of astrological traffic. And before I do the theme, I think the thing that I want to point out that I did, did I pick up on it last week? Not really. Let's point it out here. So kind of the core anchor point is this Saturn conjunct Neptune. And look at this. This thing is running very slow moving. They're running concurrent with one another all the way through here. Do I know where the peak is on this? No, I didn't really pendulum check that. But this is kind of an anchor point. And remember, Saturn's about karma and lessons and reality and just kind of a brutal edge. And Neptune is about, idealism and intuition and dreamy kind of state and both of them are in Aries. So it's given Saturn some fire. Remember, Neptune is a little bit watery. So it's creating steam. And so that's the conjunct anchor point. So when Jupiter squares up with Neptune, it's also squaring up with Saturn. These are happening hand in hand. And at the same time, we've got a Mars in conjuncting Saturn, which means Mars is also in conjuncting Neptune. So you got this whole brew going on right here. And this is where Spirit Team is saying, let's take a look at the theme for this week. When I pulled up the theme for this week, the one word they gave me was interlude. Interlude. That kind of seems to me like a pause, like you're standing in the doorway. It's the pause. It's the in-between of a musical piece, right? And so I asked them, I said, okay, what's on our challenging side? What's on our minus side? And with primarily what we've got going on here, Spirit Team is saying there's a sense of uncertainty. It's kind of hazy. You know, you got Neptune steamy in Aries. Things are unclear. It's going to be easy to misstep, to take missteps. So even though we came off of this really powerful weekend, like I had this feeling of like I wanted to blast forward, and Spirit Team was like, oh no, honey, you got recovery to do. You got recovery to do. And so then on the plus side, they are saying this is a great time to regroup, to refold. Interesting word, to reassess. I almost kind of feel like refill. This is going to be a great time to refill your inner gas tank. You don't need to be moving fast forward this week. You don't need to be working hard to figure stuff out. As a matter of fact, I said, what's our best MO this week? And Spirit Team was basically like, let things come to you. Like, let things come to you. And if you do let things come to you, there's going to be a certain undertone of power that comes with this. So I think us using our magnetics this week to kind of like have good boundaries to repel things or stay open to allow things to come in, that is going to be much better than a driving force kind of nature. Okay. So then they want me to pop up to the cards. Let's pop up to the cards and talk about them a little bit. And if you are new here, want to review, remember this is my Somatic Money Oracle deck. It's got the highlights on the full system of my body-based money relationship system. This deck is $59. It's my first edition with some editing snafus in it. This is a $79 deck that is fully up to snuff. It's edited 6 ways to Sunday. It's got some really good polish on it. All right, let's take a look at the cards that I pulled. I thought these were quite fascinating. So first card that I pulled was the Toxic Financial Patriarchy's Power Triangle. You know, and after the weekend and what we're going through with this regime, you know, we are really feeling this. And let me walk you through what I mean by the Toxic Financial Patriarchy's Power Triangle. The first part of this triangle is the assumption that all money runs on logic, logistics, rationale, and structure. And that's it. Well, guess what? That's only one aspect of money. That's masculine money. There's this whole other aspect of money that's the EQ, the feminine, which is emotional intelligence and nurturance and flow and intuition. And then there's another aspect that's the value of money, and then there's also money power. Well, when the toxic financial patriarchy runs its power triangle saying it's only about the logic, structure, and rationale, that kicks out and keeps out people who work with their money with their EQ, their emotional intelligence. So negating or dropping that aspect of money creates this vast amount of people who are experiencing wounding with their money because IQ money does not work as well for them. EQ money works better. And as that wounding is happening, the toxic financial patriarchy also blocks even the ideology that you could have healing, holistic healing power with money. And so this power triangle blocks EQ money people from one, having a leg to stand on, and two, being able to grasp the tools that you need to heal your money relationship to work better. That's this power triangle. That's what we're experiencing nationally with the healing crisis that we're in right now, because it's all about power and money and greed and logic and rationale and all that, and it completely negates looking at empathy, right? So what are the couple of things that we can work with this week that can begin to break this up? And I thought what was really interesting, the first thing that came up was the flight trigger, checking on your flight trigger, which means not running away, standing your ground, staying present with things. Does that sound familiar? It sounds familiar to me because a lot of the messaging coming through from Spirit Team and what we are doing, it's about hold the line, stand the ground, do not run away. And even though we're kind of in this foggy, hazy, unclear week, there's still this sense of breaking this by staying present, checking on our flight triggers, not running away. That's not only with our collective situation, it's also with our money situation. Not fleeing the scene of your financial status, of your financial events that are going on. Staying present where things might not be working. And the other thing, this third card that I pulled that I thought was so interesting was highest and best. This gives a nod to the people who, like, if you are doing greatest good work with your money, I strongly suggest you go watch my video about highest and best, because I'm cracking that nut on greatest good. And highest and best is going to put you in a position to bring through what you need to break this up, hold the line, stand your ground, and come into a better space with your money. So then let's get back to the charting here. And Spirit Team wants me to point out this Mars is moving into Virgo Tuesday the 17th. And I can hear very clearly right now, they're saying, use this to your advantage. Mars has been fiery and popping off and moving things forward. And Mars now is going to have action orientation pointed into communication and logistics and detail and service-oriented things that are all very grounded with Earth. They're saying, use this to your advantage, especially this week in the haziness. This is going to be essential to help you move forward. Then the next thing they want to point out is, hey, Sun is moving into Cancer on Saturday. And what's Sun about? Sun is going to be about more self-focus on your nurturance, your self-caring, home, emotional sensitivity, loyal, protectiveness, and the intuitive. So we have not had a whole lot of soft landings with things. And I almost kind of get the feeling that this is a little bit more practical, soft landing with things, even as we kind of churn through some challenging energies right here. And then for the nature of this chart, let's review a little bit what this Saturn conjuncting Neptune means. We did that last week, but I think it's worth bringing up again. Remember, this is a core point here. Saturn in Aries conjuncting Neptune in Aries, a need to reconcile dreams with reality and confront delusions. What was the president doing over the weekend? I think this is so hilarious. And then you saw what his narcissism did right afterwards, right? And then this is also about potentially leading to more grounded and authentic approach to life, creating new beginnings from the ground up. What were we doing? What have we been doing? Well, that energy continues through this week. And we've got this Jupiter square Neptune, Jupiter square Saturn, all at the same time. So we've got growth and expansion for sensitivity to home front challenge by fiery limitations and responsibility in life lessons, friction, push-pull, right? All right, and then we've got Jupiter squaring up with Neptune. Let's take a look at that. That is going to be, Jupiter in Cancer. Well, the Sun moves into Cancer, squaring up with Neptune in Aries. It's going to be a dynamic tension between nurturing the expansion of emotional security, squared up against passionate idealism. So again, kind of confusing, kind of uncertain, hazy, unclear, missteps. Again, not a week to be firing forward, a week to just kind of be collecting yourself, recovering, letting things come back into the fold, using your magnetism to attract in what you need, and boundaries to let go of what you don't need. And then interesting right here, Mars in conjuncting Saturn, which is also going to be a Mars in conjunct Neptune. So let's take a look at that. Mars, freshly in Virgo, in conjuncting Saturn in fiery Aries, a tension between the desire for practical, detail-oriented action and the need for assertive leadership. And it looks like I didn't do a similar one for Neptune, so I'm going to shoot from the hip, and that would be like Mars in Virgo in conjunct Neptune in Aries is going to be a tension between the desire for practical, detail-oriented action and that whole passionate, dreamy, intuitive space in conjuncting up with that fire of the practical. And I didn't do the full astrological meanings on the North Node of Destiny, trining Mercury, and a Sun squaring Saturn, as it's also squaring Neptune, and we got a Mars in conjunct with Pluto, and then we got a Jupiter in conjuncting Pluto. Like Spirit Team is saying this right here, this peak energy right here, they're saying this is all kind of a mess. This is all kind of a mess. There's a lot of things pushing and pulling in a lot of different directions, and thus adding to this whole uncertain, hazy, unclear, confusion kind of thing. So not a time to be powering through things, and I don't think it's really a time to be expecting a major break on the national scene. This week has kind of got pause written all over it. So we're going to be kind of collecting ourselves this week, gathering ourselves. I see that word refold, and I have a feeling of like we're just going to kind of be folding ourselves in a little bit. It's almost kind of like, how the lotus flower unfolds. It almost kind of feels like a little bit of folding in. So don't be afraid to take a time out. Don't be afraid to reassess your space. Don't be afraid to reassess the national scene. There's a sense of just breathe it in, let it out. Go look at a lake, stand by a pond, hike by a river, look at the view, sip your beverage. It's just kind of it's a really good week to take stock and just watch how things are bubbling. Watch how things are bubbling. Do what you need to do when you need to do them, but again, no forceful action moving forward. Let things fall where they're going to fall, because I can guarantee you next week. I can guarantee you next week, both on a national scene and probably in our personal lives, there's going to be a lot going on next week that we need to be ready for. So take the pause, take the breath, kind of enjoy life a little bit. Sun's headed into Cancer, which is all about taking pleasure in the small things in life, which are actually huge, beautiful things in life. So let's just kind of take a page out of nature's notebook and just let things unfold as they need to this week, because I can guarantee you there's going to be some rubber hitting the road next week, and we all just need to be ready for that. So that's what I've got for you this week. Make sure you keep walking forward to meet those miracles along the way, and I will see you in my next video.